Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Heroic Super Guide for Heroic Atramedes in Blackrock Mountain. Now, Atramedes is on the easier side for a heroic boss. It's certainly not, guaranteed win every time you open it up, but pretty much all you need to do to make a good deck for taking him out is put in a bunch of weapon removal. And in modern times especially, you have a lot of tools which can destroy weapons. Even at the time, you had enough in the form of acidic swamp oozers, Harrison Jones, and another fun one to throw in, Blingtron, because it instantly replaces his weapon with something that's probably less threatening to you, and gives you a weapon which you can use for some board maintenance. I'm not going to spend a long time on the decks, because pretty much it's just solid decks which also have weapon removal. Druid is our first example of this. We have acidic swamp oozers, Blingtron, and Harrison that I used back in the day, like I just said. Other than that, it's just pretty standard ramp druid. At the time, we had stuff like Force of Nature, which has since been nerfed, so you could put in stronger cards nowadays, but not a lot more to it than that. In the case of Hunter, I did it in modern times, so you also have very powerful removal in the form of Ooze, which also gives you some life. Toxic Ooze only removes 1 durability, it's one of the weaker sides, but even put in Bloodsail Corsairs really just pounded all the weapon removal into the same deck. Put in Blingtron as well. Other than that, you're just playing some early secrets together with Eaglehorn Bow and Cloaked Huntress to give you early board presence, and eventually you get out some bigger powerhouses like Savannah Highmanes and Call of the Wild to help finish him off. The Mage deck we built in modern times, but basically just went with an old-fashioned mech deck because they can get very strong early control of the board with your mech warpers that you then put down a lot of mechs, and Goblin Blast Mage is just crazy. Put in a Fel Reaver to help us with finishing power, and again we have a variety of weapon removal tools in the form of Harrison Jones and Acidic Swamp Oozers and Gluttonous Oozers. Plenty of options to help prevent his weapon from completely overwhelming you while you do overwhelm the board and get far ahead. Paladin, we went with more of a mid-range strategy that expects you to get low on life. So you have the Molten Giants, ways to taunt them up with Argus. We do have some weapon removal in the form of Oozers and Harrison Jones, Quartermasters to buff up your Silverhand recruits you're getting from Muster, Kel'Thuzad to be able to bring everything back like Tyrion for some extra value, Eldor Peacekeeper to neutralize some of his threats, and for fun, a single eye for eye so that if he does build his weapon up by a huge amount and you get him into lethal range, where if he hits you with his giant weapon, you will kill him with a bunch of extra damage. That's a nice way to finish him off. Priest we did in modern times again, so we have our Harrison, our Blingtron, our Acidic Swamp Oozers, our Gluttonous Oozers. That gives a ton of weapon removal. Beyond that, you're just playing your good early minions that also have card draw, ways to buff them up. 1 healing potion, so if you do get low on life, you can reclaim a lot of that. Saboteurs are great for forcing him, if you do remove his weapon, to spend a ton of mana re-equipping it. Otherwise, Lyra to give you a bunch of value, Cabal Shadow Priest to steal his minions, Light Bomb for emergency board removal, and Paletress to get you the ability to just really finish the game if it is dragging on. The rogue deck we were running back in the day was along the lines of the powerful oil combo, together with things like Deadly Poison and Blade Flurry, so that definitely has been nerfed quite a bit, so I'm not sure if it would be as effective now. I'm sure you could still get to the finish line. You still have a lot of tools to deal with his weapons, and just powerful rogue cards in general that give you some good tempo between SI7 Agent, Defias Ringleader, Sprint to give you a bunch more cards, and we have Foe Reaper to really give you control of the board, as well as Molten Giants if you do run low to be able to get out some big threats that can help you close out the game very quickly. Shaman goes with the Molten Giant route again that I seem to find popular back in the time. Obviously, you can get low on life pretty quickly given his powerful weapon when you're running less weapon removal like in these older decks. That said, we have a lot of ways to deal damage between Doomhammer, your Crackles, and getting out powerful minions like Fire Guard Destroyers for your mana. Double Belcher taunts definitely help you survive. Fel Reavers can help you close out the game. Annoyatrons, more taunt to sort of help you survive. Sun Furies to be able to put on the Giants, and Fire Elemental, good value. Of course, in modern times, I'd build this deck pretty differently. More weapon removal, and things like Tar Creeper, very good taunt for their value, would be good to throw in. Back to modern times, I took out Atramedes with a Zoo deck, pretty much all golden except I don't have double golden Gluttonous Ooze. It's a Zoo deck with extra weapon removal thrown in, obviously, with your Oozes, your Acidic Swamp Oozes, your Gluttonous Oozes, and that's pretty much enough. Otherwise, you're able to swamp the board with your usual Zooey board. It's not the discard variety, you do have your Doom Guards, but you're not looking to discard and get Silverware Golems. You're just looking for solid minions that you can, power overwhelming things like your Nerubian Eggs and just get a ton of value and burst them down. Speaking of getting very solid early board presence, how about giving him a taste of weapons with a Pirate Warrior that's very powerful and then throws in the usual weapon removal additions between your Acidic Swamp Oozes, your Gluttonous Oozes, and a Blingtron, because you really do want weapons to be able to buff up with all the ways you can buff up weapons, like Blood Cell Cultists, upgrades, and Captain Greenskin. Other than that, just running a pretty modern, aggressive Pirate Warrior to get very quick control of the board and be able to kill him before he gets close to killing you. Priest is the class that we use to take down heroic Atramedes with basic and common cards only. You can see the screenshot of our victory here, and nothing too surprising beyond what I've talked about. You're limited to common cards, but it's the same theme of weapon removal in the form of Acidic Swamp Oozes. You don't have as many tools, that's why we're also putting in Toxic Sewer Oozes. They only remove one durability at a time, but it can help you, once he builds up more and more, saving that last hit can be pretty important. Meanwhile, you do have your tools like Tar Creepers, and your early game like Radiant Elementals and Northshire Clerics, ways to buff up their health like Dark Cultist and Cabal Talon Priest. Buff them up more with Velen's Chosen, your durable things like Shredder and Tortola and Shellraiser. Darkshire Alchemist, a good one to be able to provide you a bit of emergency health or heals one of these minions you've been building up that you just want to, you had to do a trade with, but you want to heal it up again before you pull off your one-hit Divine Spirit Inner Fire combo that is always one of your options of how to just close out the game. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we took down heroic Atramedes. Like I said, one of the easier heroic bosses with every single class, and using Priest deck of basic and common cards only. Good luck yourself. See you next time.